And welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. And now your trio of hosts, starting with Romina with the good hair. And your second host, Audrey, tell him he's fired, Ember. And your third and final host, Dark Lord of the Interwebs, always the last to arrive and the first to leave, Roberto Blake. Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like, subscribe, and review.
Wow, you changed your nickname.
Yep. I think we had previously discussed another nickname, but that's all right.
Roberto, I was just on Clubhouse for 2 hours. I've never done that before.
Why?
Speaking,
what room were you in?
I was in the women in YouTube room.
Okay.
She says she was doing research.
Yeah,
for
I
this
was preparing for this podcast specifically.
Did you speak on stage, or were you just listening in the...
I was a moderator. I don't know how that happened, but I was a moderator.
But you didn't start the room. Somebody else started the room, and you eventually became a speaker and then a moderator.
It was Shelly who started the room.
Were you the largest in terms of subscriber count on stage? Who was the largest on stage?
Actually, I don't know. I think there was this other lady. I'm forgetting her name.
Who was on? Yeah, who was on the stage? Because I'd probably be able to tell you.
I think Viper took a screenshot. Hold on, I'm going over to check.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Viper's got a problem.
Yeah,
what? Is an addiction to StreamYard? I mean, an addiction to Clubhouse.
I think Shelly has more subs. I don't know.
I'm not sure she does, or it's about the same, or it might be about the same. I wonder how many followers Viper has on Clubhouse. He spends so much time on Clubhouse. It might be equal to his Twitter follower now.
Sometimes I wonder how. A lot of time on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Well, he has a job in IT, so he can do a lot of his stuff remote, and then the other reason and thing is he's more of you have like his IT thing, you'd have to call him into a location and stuff like that. So, and again, a lot of it is also remote admin work. So like, yeah, he's fine. He has 1.5 Viper has 1.5K on Clubhouse, so that's pretty substantial.
I know someone who currently has over 1 million followers.
On Clubhouse?
On Clubhouse.
How? Mr. Beast doesn't even have that.
Who is this person?
She only had like 200K like a couple weeks ago in January. In January she had like 200 something K, because I remember I looked. And she doesn't really have a lot of followers on any other platform.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think follower counts in Clubhouse. I mean, they get your rooms filled, and they're great networking contacts. But it really only helps you in terms of the networking if they follow you on a platform where they can DM you, because there's not DMs in Clubhouse. It literally ends up becoming fodder for your other platforms. I'm not sure that they could maintain it if it was. They have enough trouble maintaining it as it is with the features it has.
She currently has 1.2 million.
Wow.
What?
My friend Judy has like 9K. I'm like at only like I think 3 change. Like 3.5K.
I mean, I think if you just talk in a room
I'm rarely
a lot
on.
Of people, then I think it's easy to get followers that way, because sometimes if I'm just like sitting there, I get a follow. But
yeah, it's actually not that difficult. I just actually don't participate in Clubhouse as much as people. Like, the platform is practically made for me, except for one little teeny tiny problem. It's a freaking time suck. I love Clubhouse. I think it's a brilliant app. I love just about everything about it. It's just that it is a freaking time suck. It's a lot.
Yeah. I'm also kind of like, I don't really like just like sitting around and listening to people's opinions and thoughts for a very long period of time.
Yes, you do. You like podcast.
No, I don't.
Oh, well, you host one.
You love listening to us.
Yeah, because I'm the one who's talking. I only listen to one podcast, and that's Tim Ferriss's podcast, and I don't even listen to that. I listen to an episode here and there, and usually I'll listen to maybe like 20 or 30 minutes. I prefer listening to, like, I prefer knowing when something ends. So I'll listen to lectures. Like, I don't mind listening to long speeches. Like, if it's 2 hours, it's 2 hours. You know what I mean? But I know when it ends. But the thing about Clubhouse is that there's no marker. It's just an ongoing conversation.
This is the talk that doesn't end. It just goes on, my friend.
Also, I feel so awkward, like, leaving a Clubhouse room. I don't know about it.
No, it's like leave quietly.
Why?
It's literally, it says leave room quietly.
Do they get an alert? I mean, they don't know that you've left.
Yeah, but this time I was a moderator, so...
You say your goodbyes, and then you dip.
Yeah, you just say, I gotta go.
Dude, this is not an app for introverts, all right? I'm stressed.
That may be, ironically, you know what? Even though as a public speaker, you'd think this be the app for me, that might be why I don't really use it that much, except like sometimes I will listen to it in the background throughout my day, but it's like, I find it takes too much energy, it's too much time, it's a distraction, and I've actually been fairly productive this week somehow.
Right. I agree with that.
I mean, I love Clubhouse. I love the networking. I love the supplement to the fact that we don't have conferences in real life anymore. But
yeah,
I do feel like it's an issue in terms of productivity.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot of repetition, and
well, especially in the YouTuber rooms. No matter how big someone is in the YouTuber rooms, I haven't heard hardly anything innovative.
Right. Well, it's like that in the finance rooms too. The ones that I've gone into for investors, and real estate and business. All they're after a while, it just kind of all sounds like they're talking about the same thing. So again, that's why it kind of gets a little repetitive, and it gets like, I don't want to listen to that for a long period of time. You know, I feel like I'm wasting time. Or like
I don't know how to do.
Energy.
I don't know how to do options trading, but I kind of don't want to know how to do options trading because I don't like, I'm very risk adverse. I don't like gambling, and I like having my like 28% averages. Like, I mean, I like having those numbers, and it's like lower dollar amounts than I would love. I would love it to be higher dollar amounts, but it's like, I feel like just picking individual stocks, I'm already well-researched, conservative. I pick things I know and like, and I listen to these rooms and think people have all these weird ass strategies, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna invest in companies that I know and like, but also companies that I think, well, one, I picked a lot of my stocks based on what industries the new administration is backing in terms of investments in futurism, green energy, rare earth minerals, EVs, and automation and things like that. Oh, and cannabis. Because like those are
just gonna say the other kind of green energy.
But those are like no-brainers, and you would invest in those anyway because it's all the future. But now you know there's legislation to back it, so it's like, okay, you know it's going to go up, or at least you know that the speculation on it's going to be positive, right? And then the other companies, I'm just buying tech. It's like everything that I bought for this office, I might as well buy stock in it. I mean, because other people are buying it like me, so I mean, it makes sense if I use the stuff every day to own the stocks. So, I mean, I'm super conservative in that. I'll tell you the most interesting room I have been in that's actually valuable. It was the millionaire dating, Clubhouse room was actually really interesting.
Ooh. Tell us more. Hold on, you're going to drop that.
It was really interesting hearing people actually humanize people who are wealthy and hear like a very human centric, because it was run by millionaire matchmakers and dating coaches, you know, of the wealthy and of the elite. And there were also some clients of theirs in the room. And it was very interesting to hear kind of the anxiety and pain points of people that are at that level of success in life. And to then like feel like, okay, I'm starting to feel some of these things and I'm starting to have some of these concerns. It's like, I mean, realistically, if you're a content creator, even if you're not famous, but like if you're a content creator and like you have 20,000 subscribers or followers on a platform, right? compared to the average person views you vastly differently. And if you ever have your follower counts go above 50,000, to the regular people in your town, you are famous. Like, to the regular people in your town, if you're not in Hollywood or California or whatever, like if you go to a bar or a club and somebody were to look you up, they would make a big deal out of it at that point because it's relative to their situation, right? So it's interesting to, like, the scenarios of the anxiety point of, okay, well, what do you do, or how do you talk about what you do for a living, or how do you, when they ask what you do, or inevitably the curiosity point, or if you, in my situation, like, people can somewhat derive relatively how much I make, that becomes you have to wonder when you're involved, or when you start dating someone casually, or even if you just go out for drinks or coffee, you kind of have to start to wonder, and you have to kind of be somewhat guarded, because if they know what you do, you have to wonder if you're being used, or if they want something, or if you make a certain income bracket, you have to wonder if they're expecting things from you. I mean, you might have your standards of how you treat people, or you might cover things because you're in a really great position financially and say, oh, I got it, or whatever. But there are people who take advantage of that. And so hearing how people have navigated that, hearing what these, high profile dating coaches and matchmakers have to say about it, and how they talk about their clients, and how they talk about their human problems and their anxieties, and about what being part of their client's life and world would be like for somebody. And what, like, hey, if you go into this, you have to know that a lot of these people, they're successful, but they've also been hurt. They're single for a reason. They're not with somebody for a reason. So you have to go into that thinking, being very thoughtful. It was interesting to hear people actually humanize somebody in that way. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I like that. It's nice that that's available. There is a very nice, diverse group of people on Clubhouse, I feel like. Although I think that once you put in your interests and you start to kind of go into specific groups, then you see more of that, and it feels like it's not very diverse. But from what I've seen, like I've been in groups that are like people who are talking about transcending into another dimension and things like that. And I've also heard people talking about real estate, and I've heard people talking about investing in stocks and Bitcoin, and YouTubers talking about, tags and thumbnails. And it's like, it's a very diverse group of people from all walks of life. And I think that what makes it interesting is there's someone in the chat actually mentioned coded photography. Said people will literally call your name among 100 people to speak, which is kind of nice. It's not something that you get in a lot of platforms where you can be on the same stage as people who have been maybe successful, or who have a different kind of caliber or following than you do. And it's kind of nice to be on the same stage as these people and be able to talk about your own experiences. And as a listener, it gives a different kind of perspective. So I think that's definitely something that Clubhouse brings, I feel like. At least that's what rooms
or what type of rooms have you two gotten the most value out of?
I haven't been in that many, honestly. I think when I get the most value is when I'm like speaking and interacting with people. Like, I've listened to some of the Mr. Beast ones, and they're good, obviously, but I feel like a lot of it is like, I've listened to 2, I think, now, and it was.
Well, you also like have heard him speak at like a Vid Summit, I believe. Yeah. So like, but did you feel like in these rooms where you get to hear these big YouTubers, do you, aside from the fact that it's interesting to hear how their brain works, did you get any new value or some revelation or anything innovative out of it?
No new revelations, I guess. It's kind of, I guess I've heard it before, but maybe
nothing
for most people,
like anything actionable. Anything actionable? Like, oh, I'm gonna go do this.
A lot of
now.
actionable stuff, like a lot of reminders, I guess.
But if it's a reminder and it's actionable, then it's like, I guess then it's like, because again, I'm not criticizing, and it's new for other people, and like we've been to Vid Summit and we've heard these people speak before, so it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that because other people haven't had those opportunities. I think it's great that you get the same value for free if you happen to show up in the room that you would get if you buy a $1,500 ticket, and I think that that's valuable. Or if you buy like a $200-300 virtual ticket, and I'm not knocking it. I love Mr. Beast. I love a lot of these larger YouTubers. I really thought it was interesting to listen to Beast and Logan Paul go back and forth. I even like came in on some stuff like with Keemstar, and it was interesting like to hear him when he's not in character. And so I like being a fly on the wall of stuff in that way. Or even interacting with those people. Like, I actually was on a panel with 2 of the people from the Mr. Beast team the other day, and then like another panel where another person from the team came in. It was really interesting. So I got to, and even before the call, I ended up talking for like 3 hours with Mario from the Mr. Beast team. Huge fan of his now, actually, and it was just fascinating. There's some other people on the team, Chucky, CeeLo I've met at Vid Summit before. Fascinating dude. I like the opportunity to run into people in these things the way you might run into them if you go to an event or conference. But I think it's the off conversations if you happen to meet up with someone or hook up with somebody and then you take it either to WhatsApp or to DMs. I feel like that's where the value comes into, is the serendipity of meeting them in the room, and then what happens when you leave Clubhouse is better. Or if you move to a smaller, more private room on Clubhouse. You get what I'm saying? I don't know that the publicly available typical rooms, I mean, I guess for an absolute beginner, because we could all just be cynical because we've all been around for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to someone who's like, I mean, I think we can kind of assume who's like new to YouTube. It's probably super useful.
Yeah. Mind blowing. Yeah. No, I think if I was a beginner, it'd be mind blowing. I think if it was a beginner, it'd be mind blowing. I felt like that about the business rooms though. Like the entrepreneurship rooms, I'm not hearing, like the most I hear is when I hear people talk about their ideas or the way they think. At best, it might spark an idea, or I might hear, the most I hear is like, oh, there's a tool or platform I haven't heard of that I can Google. Or there's somebody new I haven't heard of, and I'll look at their stuff and I'll see an interesting aesthetic that gives me an inspiration idea or inspo, or some, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's like, but that's just me. Like, I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I had something I was gonna say and I completely just lost it.
Whoops, that's my bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really spend too much time on it. I think maybe I click through it maybe 2 times a week if I do. And it's really only for like a few minutes just to see like what's popping.
When I've got insomnia, it's like a good, okay, if I'm going to kill time, I might as well either listen in, be a fly on the wall, or I might as well jump in a room and drop some value over on the West Coast, like timetable, if I can't sleep already, you know, because otherwise I'm just going to like listen to music and chill or read a book or like queue up Netflix. So it's like, in a way, for me, it's like, well, if I'm just gonna like sit here and like watch Netflix or do something, it's like, well, I could actually just like maybe answer some questions or give some people value. So I'll just pop into an existing room. They drag me up to the stage, and then that's that. Like, and then, you know, an hour or two later, I'm like, okay, good. I'm finally spent. I'm finally drained as an introvert. My battery's now dead. I can go to sleep now.
I think it's been, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's been useful to practice public speaking in a weird way.
That's interesting
for me, because I get like nervous because like I know I'm talking in front of people, so I think it's been helpful that way. And like with you guys, it's different because I'm like friends with you guys. So it's more normal. I guess there it feels like more.
No, I get like, that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think that's a good thing. Because you do get better the more you do it. And that is something that, like, it takes up so much time. Like, I wish I could participate more because I feel like I could contribute some of my, from some of my own experiences in life, I'm sure that there's a lot that I could contribute to the different communities, but it just takes up so much time. I feel like, to just sit there, and I'm a person of action. I like to get things done. And so like
woman of action.
Right. And so to just like sit around and like talk to my phone forever, it just like it gives me anxiety. You know what I mean? Like it's like this level of anxiety because I want to be somewhere else.
I mean, you can just leave.
Well, I mean,
I do. From
somebody who does,
I don't spend a lot of time on it.
As someone who did the corporate thing, and then also like from a business standpoint, like sitting there taking phone calls all day is like, like that's a normal thing in a career a lot of times. I mean, even for people in real estate, there's a lot of just, I'm on the phone all day kind of stuff if you're into that. If you're getting clients and stuff. So anything client services is already that. And then to Audrey's point, for me, it's just more public speaking. I'm in fact actually thinking of how to actually reformat. Now that we have Clubhouse, I'm actually trying to think of how to leverage Clubhouse in a pandemic to basically reactivate my speaking career and speaking credentials through Clubhouse. Not necessarily from a paid standpoint, but to be known kind of at like, again, until
who's got something to say.
Yeah, and exactly, and can deliver value. And the thing is, what you'll find is a lot of people on these Clubhouse stages are not themselves good at public speaking and have no other public speaking experience. So the thing is, when you have someone like myself or Vincenzo or Amy or Brian who, Amy Landino, Vincenzo Landino, Brian Fanzo, my homies from social media marketing world, when you have like those kind of speakers in a room, it's immediately a different caliber. And I'm not saying that arrogantly. It's just it's like there's a difference between people who know the rhythm of public speaking or moderating a panel or doing Q&A from the average consumer who's, not just had that experience.
Mm-hmm. So Scott in the chat says, I haven't used it since I have an Android. Wouldn't it be easier to do a Clubhouse conversation on a YouTube live like this one, where one of you actually call on viewers to speak?
No, not really.
Yeah, the platform is just not built for that. It's not built for bringing on people to just talk. Like Scott, if you wanted to talk right now on the podcast, it would be so complicated. Like for us to bring
it's not that complicated, but it's more complicated than Clubhouse. And the other thing is,
video, yeah. Well, that's the point. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I'm comparing it to Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, with Clubhouse as a mobile phone app where everyone's literally using their phone, it means that there's also a comparable level of quality. And with iPhone specifically, there's a comparable level of quality and noise canceling and such. And it sounds elitist, but that's just how it is. iPhone does have that superior level of experience in the way that their phones are built and designed. In Clubhouse in particular, it means we're all on an even playing field. If you come onto this podcast, though, you've literally you might have your phone or your laptop, and that's it. Going to people with varying levels of equipment, so there would not be consistency or continuity for the audience from a qualitative standpoint.
And the other thing is too, Clubhouse, there's the accessibility aspect of it, where not everybody, believe it or not, has a webcam, or has the appropriate bandwidth to be able to live stream video from where they are. Being able to do Clubhouse, they don't have to be camera ready. I mean, exactly. People can be completely naked and we have no idea.
I think that's also, that equalizes it in terms of female creators, entrepreneurs, and speakers, is that they have a platform that actually takes into consideration the fact that it's just there's different expectations and standards for women in media than men. It's very easy for me to hop on anything. It's like, okay, cool. I can throw on a hat and a hoodie and no one will care. You can't necessarily do that all the time as a female content creator. And it's not just men that'll judge you, it's women. So, I mean, having an audio only mobile first app that's accessible to you and in that way.
And it's not just judging, it's also based, it also leverages the content, because if like, let's face it, right now, everybody's paying attention to the fact that I have dinosaur on my microphone. The fact that they can see it and that's on their minds, that's a part of the judgment.
It's a distraction. You're forced to just listen only
right.
and
So
get value
regardless
from...
of whether I'm an attractive female or an unattractive female, or I have makeup on or I don't, or I'm wearing something ridiculous or I'm not, it's part of the visual aspect. It's part of what you are consuming. Whereas on Clubhouse, all you are doing is just consuming the audio. So that's all you have to go off of. So it makes
Indeed.
yeah. So it's just a different platform. Coded Photography says, so Apple is better than Android. Is that what Clubhouse is implying?
This is a fact.
Maybe. Oh,
generally.
Ooh, Audrey. Wait a second. What's going on over there?
I was just stating a fact.
Ooh.
There's no need to go into
over party.
Don't need to go into detail.
Shall I say it? Dang. Audrey,
I didn't say it. You did.
Audrey coming in hot with the shade. Nobody gets left behind. Yeah, exactly. The red dinosaur is there to improve the acoustics of the microphone. Precisely. Yep, those are fighting words. So, Audrey, do you want to tell us why you chose the iPhone over the Android?
Are we really going to get into this?
Or shall I say that the iPhone was just lucky to be chosen by you?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Well, let's
our transition.
Speaking of luck, do you guys think that Clubhouse got lucky?
Okay, so like I think that they benefited. I feel that they benefited.
Amazing.
I think that they benefited from being early to market. However, that by itself doesn't guarantee success. Meerkat was first and then died to Periscope, that then died to Facebook Live.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad because I like the name Meerkat. I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh, Meerkat was amazing.
Meerkat.
I've
never heard of that.
Well, you know,
Meerkat was a live streaming app. It was like it was Periscope before there was Periscope.
Yeah, Twitter copied them.
Do you guys think Clubhouse is going to be replaced by like a Twitter copy or something?
Well, Twitter
else?
has Twitter Spaces, but I don't think it's really equivalent to be
right.
really...
I don't know if it's going to be replaced, but there's definitely going to be copycats, and there's going to be different versions of it now. Everybody's going to probably have some version of an audio component to on their platform now. That's definitely just going to be a part of it. It's kind of like stories, you know?
Yeah. I don't think
Snapchat hasn't gone away. You know? It's just...
I agree with Ashley that I don't think that they were lucky, but I do feel that there were obviously some benefits to timing and being first to market, in the same way that I don't think that big YouTubers who were early got lucky and that they wouldn't be successful otherwise. I do feel that there are benefits to being early, to innovating, to a lack of competition, but you have to remember that, like, okay, sometimes not, because once you prove a use case, sometimes if Facebook comes and steals your features like Facebook did with Snapchat, even though Snapchat's been making a strong comeback, it still did suffer to what Facebook did with Instagram in basically stealing its features. So you could innovate and you could be first to market to just have somebody outspend you and clone you. And the thing is, even if they do that, the only way to survive is if your culture is a superior experience, and it is what was the culture fostered. It's why Instagram Reels can't really take out TikTok, and it's why even though YouTube Shorts is massively popular, it's not a replacement for TikTok.
Right,
the community and the culture.
Because it's the community. It's the people who built it, not the people who literally built it.
But the creators who made it
what it is. Right, exactly.
And built a community around it. So yeah, I think that community and culture wins, which is why I think that like Snapchat was not just a platform, it was a culture, and there was an identity in the way that Vine was. And then TikTok, when Musical.ly shifted to being TikTok, it became truly a spiritual successor to the culture that made Vine what it was, and the people who felt like they missed out on that time and that culture. YouTube endures whether or not people agree with the culture or whether the culture is relevant to YouTube. To be honest with you, YouTube endures, frankly, because of like it being the first and best monetization side for creators, to be real with you.
Yeah, but on a more serious note, Roberto, did you ever buy the Snapchat glasses? Do you have a pair?
I had thought about buying it, and like all my homies did, and ultimately I just.
But then you realized how ridiculous it was.
Basically, something.
And
like
you
that.
were like, you know what? Instead of buying these $150 glasses that I'm never gonna wear, I'm just gonna buy Snapstock.
Well, I think I only have like 2 shares of Snapchat, to be honest with you.
How much are the how much?
Well, I bought it at 13 and I think it's worth like 60 now, so.
Still for the price of one pair of glasses.
Yeah, no, I wish I'd had more shares of Snapchat, because like my gains on Snapchat percentage wise were so ridiculously absurd. Well, again, I think you guys have seen some of my portfolio stuff. It's like, it's just
I never got into I never got into Snapchat, like the app.
I ended up making like a handful of pieces of content, and was just like, it wasn't for me. It's like, I haven't found the only places where I feel like I've the biggest platforms are the ones where I feel, aside from TikTok, but I think I'll get to TikTok, honestly. YouTube for me, I was on Twitter before YouTube, and like I fit with the culture of what Twitter is for the most part. Like now that people aren't constantly spewing toxicity in politics, Twitter is fun again. So like I've fit with Twitter, and I've always fit with Twitter. I was in college when Facebook was a thing, and I've always I don't care about like how other people feel about Facebook, or the privacy. Like it's like I knew privacy was dead in the MySpace days. I knew privacy was dead. I'm over it. Like whatever. So like and I run a business with Facebook. So like Facebook, I understand the marketing culture of it. I understand the business culture. I understand Facebook groups. I understand Facebook ads. Like, yes, I understand Facebook Live. I'm a Facebook person. So I'm a Twitter person. I'm a Facebook person. I'm certainly a YouTube person. I was most successful there. LinkedIn. Yeah, I understand that platform. I understand that culture. It's the professional business world. I get it. It's harder for me, and it's ironic because there's like artistic value. Oh, I'm an Instagram person, obviously. Like I was from early adopter there, and I do well in Instagram. It's the TikToks and the Snapchats.
I was a Flickr person.
I was a Flickr person for real. I'm getting into Pinterest. I'm getting into Pinterest. I also own stock. Getting into Pinterest. I also own stock. I was not a Tumblr person. You know what? I just had my Tumblr post my Instagram. I just had it auto post my Instagram stuff. Oh, interesting.
Tumblr. Yeah, and it actually did pretty good. Because I had like this cool layout and stuff, but then eventually I was trying to minimize my spread across the internets, and so
instead of maximize it.
Yeah, I was like, it was just kind of too much to try to grow everything, because it was like, go find me on everywhere, you know. And it's just
for me, I'm less about growing everything as much as everything I'm going to add value to.
Well, that's what I mean. I wasn't doing any of that, you know, because I was just a copy of what's on Instagram. Right. So I'm just like, well, I'm not really participating on this platform. So it's just, I'm done with that.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, I mean, Flickr was cool until Yahoo decided to kind of destroy it. But anyway.
Yes. Yahoo ruins everything. Yahoo ruins everything it touches.
I mean,
I'm not even joking.
Well, yeah, because like we had
no
groups,
offense to Marissa.
Yahoo groups.
Was it Marissa Mayer? Like, no offense to her, but like Yahoo ruins everything it touches.
Yahoo groups could have been, you know,
amazing.
What I'm saying? Like, yeah, but they ruined it. Yep. It's like, and the thing is that, like, there was Yahoo groups before Facebook group. Like, Facebook copied freaking Yahoo with that.
Yahoo's search engine used to be the best.
It used to be the best.
And there used to be value in, they were trying to do like a video media platform, and I thought that it could have honestly have stood a chance of like being real competition for YouTube, and they blew it.
Yeah.
They had media talent acquisitions because they have traditional media budgets and things like that. They blew it. They had an opportunity to be a contender, and they freaking blew it.
I remember that they did a partnership with Justine, like back in the day.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
This was like, I think
they did, like AOL
2008 or something like that.
They did, and AOL did. They did a tech thing with Justine. She was a host. It was great. Like,
yeah, it was like a legit show on Yahoo.
Now Microsoft's got her and Jenna. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just like these kinds of things where they did it. They had the right idea. It's just the execution was just poor every single time. Like, I don't know. They've never landed.
That's my issue. Why there's no YouTube competitor.
And I just don't even understand how they're still around.
I'll tell you. All right, I'm gonna throw some shade at a Clubhouse competitor. I think like Stereo is accessible to all the Android homies. Stereo is accessible to all the normies. They're not just hanging up influencers and marketers and people with followings. Anybody who wants to be on Stereo can be on Stereo. Hell, you can even get verified. But here's the thing. Stereo is kind of trash. Like, I mean, and here's why. Or like, it does have value. It's utility-wise, it has value in the sense that, one, you get to actually link out, so you can link out to your YouTube channel or you can link out to your website or whatever. It does have that benefit. It has the benefit that has almost like Anchor podcast-like features combined with Clubhouse features. And like I said, it's accessible on all the devices. But you know what? They're throwing bags at influencers like Philip DeFranco. They're throwing massive bags at people. And the thing is, they are going to lose because culturally they don't really have a culture, not really. And the thing is, they can't organically get people like Mr. Beast to back it and to want to show up there, even with throwing money at them and then asking for these commitments, because they want, and they're very particular about what they want and what they expect from influencer partners. And the thing is, they'll throw bags at the entertainers. But you know, here's the funny thing: there are influencers who influence influencers, and there are also people that you can't pay them to be interested in something or to even give something a try. But there are also people you can pay to give something a fair shake if you let go of some of the rigidness. And I've talked to some people who've been pitched Stereo, and like they're not giving out the, like, for people who don't get and do certain numbers, they're not throwing out, like, again, I'm talking about like speakers, I'm talking about marketers, I'm talking about people that are about as big now as Gary Vee was a couple of years ago when Gary Vee pushed Snapchat, but he wasn't as big as he is now. Like back when Gary had like 300,000 subscribers in YouTube, you know, hadn't quite blown up in Instagram yet, like a couple of years back, like in 2015 or something like that, when Gary Vee was big in the marketing world and not in the world to people. You know what I'm saying? Like old school Ask Gary Vee show. All right, like back then, to be honest, you couldn't even throw money at Gary Vee, but there's people that are like that now that you could throw money at potentially. You know, I know some like major female speakers who are big players in marketing, but here's the thing: their Instagram following isn't big enough because they don't wear bikinis. So they don't get offered the money that commands a keynote speaker of their caliber, because they don't want to be bikini models in Instagram. They want to be, you know, lady bosses in Instagram and crush it and do 7-figure deals with actual clients at networks and stuff like that. So then when you offer them small bags because, you know, they're not doing the clout game, that's that's really unfortunate, because the thing is, they influence the people that would bring the bigger audience, because you don't go sometimes to the rock star, you go to their consigliere. And that's the thing that a lot of these brands don't understand, and a lot of these platforms don't understand, is that they're the people that are the behind the scenes movers and shakers, the coaches, the speakers, the marketers, the people in that Gary Vee type ecosystem. Those people may not have the clout on paper, they have it where it counts in the backroom conversations. And guess where we all at? we're all on Clubhouse, and you're not going to get people over or even interested on something where they didn't have to be bribed to go over there, and you're going to go ahead, and then if you're going to like, you know, you're going to throw, remember like how some of these brands will throw money at like influencers who literally can't sell like a dozen t-shirts to their audiences of millions? Like, people don't understand that being famous isn't enough, and you need real influence, and you need culture, and you need to understand who moves culture, and it's not always by follower count. It's not always follower count. It's not always cloud on paper.
Speaking of influence, have you guys retweeted the No Assembly Required podcast tweet, letting people know that we were live streaming? I think the answer is no. So while you guys do that, I'm going to encourage that everyone who's listening, leave us a 5-star review on Apple and any other place where you listen to podcasts that let you leave reviews, but preferably Apple. And don't forget to subscribe. We do this live stream every Thursday at 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. But yeah, I mean, you guys have seen it yourself, by the way. You've seen yourself that like Clubhouse is Fight Club. It's the secret society, right? You've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow No Assembly Pod on Twitter. So we're at No Assembly Pod on Twitter. There were people in the chat who were asking Roberto, sorry.
Yeah. Are we also that on Instagram? I forget.
Yes. We are that all over the place.
Boom.
On YouTube as well.
All the places. Audrey, when you can, please, someone actually DM'd me that the audio podcast is not up to date.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for a while now. It hasn't been updating.
I thought I had a bunch of them on auto, but I don't think that's working.
The audio probably didn't work.
It hasn't been updating since
October. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I hadn't done them for a couple months, but not October. So
yeah, we in February now, homie.
Yeah, I've been singing this.
Okay,
that's October, November, December, January, February. That's like that's half the episodes, homie.
That's my fault. I'll do that. ASAP.
Now this is kind of like, I feel I think that my opinion is that Clubhouse has actually been around for a bit now. I mean, they've been around for, I think, a year. And they kind of had like this exclusivity, first of all, because they've limited it to iOS. And then secondly, you had to get invited in order to be on the platform. I think it still remains that way. You need to get invited in order to be on the platform. So they were very strategic in how they've grown. And I don't feel like there is any luck that was involved in that. And
I think everything that you could criticize about Clubhouse is exactly why it's successful. I think it's because it's exclusive, and because the conversations can't be like recorded, and that's live only, so it's FOMO. So it's like that creates like a desire, and yeah, it does to some extent already enhance privileges that like people might have with larger following counts or name recognition. But it's like, but guess what? And then also like, and then yeah, there are people who will hog the conversation and be domineering. And guess what? All of those things that's called real life, homie. And that's what happens in real life. That's what, and that's like, I'm not saying that that's how it should be, but that's how it is. And that's how it's going to be. And that's what happens. And like, society has not changed it in any meaningful way. So why should an app's culture be something that subverts human behavior instead of reveals and exposes it? So yeah, Clubhouse is exclusive and a little bit of elitist. So is every other good thing in life for the most part. Like, you want to go, like, think about it. There's no rocking great club that everybody can just get into that doesn't have like gatekeeping or dress code. The club that everyone would want to be at is exclusive as hell, either by price or by preferential treatment, bottom line. And even for the clubs you can get into, And the bars you can get into, VIP section is better, and it's going to be a different group, and that's where everyone wishes they were and wishes they had the ability and the access to be. As for things being live only and ephemeral, that's called real life. In real life, if you miss out on an opportunity, there's no replay button, there's no pause, there's no video on demand. If you miss out in real life, you miss out in real life. That's
like
real.
stocks.
Yeah, it is what it is. And then as for like the enhancement of existing privilege, it's like, like privilege is a tricky word. And you know that my version of it is like, okay, circumstances of birth and the end. The rest is luxury. Luxury could be earned. I believe privilege should be restricted to the usage of declaring an unearned advantage. Like, again, something that is a circumstance of birth. But okay, if people aren't going to go with that and they're going to go with privilege being class, well, guess what? Like, there's nothing that says that you can't change your class. Your class would be predicated on circumstances. Circumstances aren't immutable for the most part. So, I mean, you could level up. You could get there. There are plenty of people who were like back in the day were like, oh, they're the janitor at the club or the person looking in, and then they're the person that's the VIP or they own the restaurant or the what. Like, I mean, it's not for everybody. Nothing in life is for everybody. Nothing in life, for the most part, that's not basic level is supposed to be for everybody.
If you can't get into the cool kids room, then you make your own room.
Bingo.
And that's really what it's all about.
I mean, that's what Silicon Valley did.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what
Silicon Valley was, all the nerds that got beat up and got swirlies and everything like that. And you know what they did? They left behind the punks and the townies and the rich kids of their small town. And then they became the rich kids themselves and built their own town.
Right. And they became even richer kids.
Yeah.
I think the exclusivity makes it better. Like, or at least at the beginning. Like, it's more, it feels more personal, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, as it's grown, it's kind of gotten, I don't think it's lost that yet.
Look, I don't even think there's a problem with cliques, by the way. I don't actually think there's a problem with cliques. You don't want to be friends with everybody. You don't want to spend time with everybody. Everyone doesn't want to spend time with you, and that's fine. People are allowed preferences.
It's energy draining.
It's energy draining. People are allowed preferences, and sometimes people have a culture to themselves, and they are protective of the culture of their group. There's a reason for it. They don't want people to change the cultural dynamic of their group, or they don't want people to disrupt the cultural dynamic of their group, or they want to and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't let everyone into your family. You don't marry everybody into your family. Like, there's a reason.
It's also time consuming. Relationships are time consuming, and it takes it takes a lot of energy, and it takes time to be able to really grow those relationships, because it's one thing to know somebody and to just talk to them, and it's another thing to be friends with them and to have them in your inner circle and hang out with them all the time, talk to them, text with them all the time.
We've tried to grow our friend group beyond like the small circle that we have in terms of our IRL friend group before, and guess what? It didn't work.
Yeah, I have a number of friend groups that like we've tried to, put people in there.
We've tried to merge people.
Yeah.
We've tried to,
and it's like, and they have stuff in common, and you're like, oh yeah, this is perfect. Like, this is a match made in heaven, but somehow it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
And the thing is, people take it so personally, and it's like, it's nothing. It's no offense to people. And it's like, and the thing is, not everyone wants to like, look, there's also a such thing as like, expectations versus disappointment, and the thing is, and the reality is, it's like that, like it goes with everything. It even goes with relationships, and like even like with dating. I've had to literally tell people it's like no, you only think you like me, you're infatuated with me, because if you had to actually spend more than a few minutes at a time with me and everything like that, I would get on your nerves. And like every time we spend more than X amount of time together, we end up like arguing. So it's like, you have an idea of me. And I think that's the same thing with people that look up to influencers. It's like, if you actually spend time with some of these people, it's not that they're freezing you out. It's that they know by trial and error that people aren't always compatible. And also I get
like the craziest comments from people who just like, I mean, obviously, it's always nice to be flattered, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like, thanks for the compliment, but I hope you realize that this is as far as the relationship is going.
Yeah, no. And then there's a such thing also as okay, there's no way you fit into my lifestyle kind of thing. You know?
Right.
There's that.
Right. Absolutely. And
you're doing them a favor at that point.
Right. Yeah. And it's one thing, like, you brought up a good point where it's just like, there's people who are so, like, they think that they know you and they're infatuated with the idea of who you are. But they don't realize what it's actually like to be with you on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know that I can get pretty obnoxious. Like, when I get, if I'm hyper or if I'm like in my element, like I can be annoying AF.
I'm annoying AF. I'm cynical as hell.
Yeah. But the thing is that we're all friends, and so we can tell each other that when we're being annoying, or like we just like we're sick of each other, and we can walk away and talk to each other again the next day, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a totally different. It's a totally different game when you're actually in a relationship with people.
Yeah,
because like
not to take not to take things personally.
Right. And but like if you're in a relationship with someone, then it's suddenly like it's personal. And then also, you got to see that person,
Well, also even with that, it's like even with that, I can't
that person,
Well, so even with that, like I find it exhausting. I find it exhausting to have friends
Audrey's
that need.
I just heard it's exhausting to have friends.
Well, fair.
Well, I mean,
but yeah, no, I find it exhausting to have friends that constantly need their feelings validated in a situation, and to constantly be revalidated. Oh, are you mad at me? Or that was like. It has nothing to do with you. I'm literally swamped. I have 20 things piling up, and I told you that literally 3 days ago. It then makes me feel like, what? Were you just not listening to me, or were you just humoring me, or were you waiting for your turn to talk when I told you literally that I have like 20 things, I have 7 meetings, and so if I don't reply or I leave you on unread, you're getting in your feelings and you're getting insecure when it's like my life and the world doesn't revolve around like it's like, okay. And again, this is even the thing like I was talking about earlier with the problem with dating an influencer would be that somebody who doesn't understand what that's like, even if you're not rich, even if you just have even a couple of thousand followers or you're trying to grow to be an influencer, people don't realize that's like you left them on auto read and you literally had to reply to 50 comments across 3 platforms. You left them on unread, but you literally are filming a video for 90 minutes, or you're on your live stream chatting with your community, or you're on your podcast. You know what I'm saying? There's like, there's people, these like people don't understand because especially if you manage to be a full-time influencer, it's worse because then when you're not making time for them, you're not making them a priority because you're in control of your time, but your time and the control you have of your time is granted by the fact that so many people support you, and you can't ghost them every time that somebody needs a text from you to feel less insecure that day. You can't ghost those 30,000 people every time somebody wants you to reply to them within 5 minutes so they can stop having, an existential crisis about you not liking them anymore. And that's completely an unreasonable thing, like, because in their mind, they decided that they're supposed to be that priority for whatever reason, whether you're in a relationship.
More important.
And the thing is, I get why someone would want to be that or would think that they should be that and everything like that. But it's kind of an unreasonable thing to think that you come before that many people in so many ways. And I don't think that any outsider could ever understand that.
I want to add on to something that Andy says. So Andy in the chat says, that's the disadvantage of having a small friend circle. It's hard to get that emotional confirmation if they're busy, and you feel like you're the annoying one if you send a text. So here's my quick solution to that is have more than one small friend circle. So I have a small friend circle, but I have multiple ones. So
same.
It's like, I know that when I need that kind of social interaction, if somebody is busy or unable, I don't take it personally, and I don't feel like it's like they're so busy that they don't have time for me, because I literally have other people to talk to. And so I just go to the next person. So it's like I have my core group of people that I pretty much talk to almost every day. And sometimes I don't talk to them for a few days. And it's just like, but I have other people that I can talk to when I don't talk to them on those days. So I think that, like, don't feel like you can only have, 3 friends.
It does.
You can have a lot of friends, but again, it is exhausting, and it is time consuming, and it takes up a lot of energy. It takes up effort. That's
I think
really
we're over leveraged by these social media platforms with the expectation that we're supposed to keep up with so many people.
Right. And like, not everybody can do it. It is difficult to do, and I feel it's an art, it's a skill. And it's one that I've been able to develop very well, where I think it comes with being able to be empathetic and be able to talk to different types of people. And so because of that, I have a wide range and a diverse group of friend groups. Yeah, Andy says, I never thought about having multiple circles. I always thought that I had to widen my only circle. No. I think, well, here's the thing. I wouldn't spread myself too thin where I have so many friends or so many people that I talk to that I don't make meaningful connections. But like our particular friend group, it's like, it doesn't really go we
it's
can
4 or 5
put
people deep, and that's
right. We can put it in the palm of our hands, right? So it's
literally
in one hand. But I also have another group that I talk to almost every day, and I call them my brothers. And it's just a couple guys, and I'm the only female in the group. So, and that's like, but that's a whole other group. It's a whole other friend group. And like Roberto and Audrey have never talked to them ever. But because I talk to them and I talk to Roberto and Audrey almost every day, our friendship grows every time that we talk and every time that we have discussions. Audrey doesn't believe that. She doesn't believe in friends.
I was kidding.
Well, we haven't met the friends that she lives with in California.
Yeah. Until we go out there.
Some of my creator friends.
I'm gonna go over to where she lives, and I'm gonna bring guac. I'm gonna knock on the door. Hey.
No, I feel like I have a creator friend group.
I'll show up with hot sauce and nothing else.
I have my old friends.
All right, so I'm bringing guac. You're bringing hot sauce. Audrey, you better have chips at the house.
All right.
You better have every freaking bag of chips.
Once COVID is over.
Yeah.
But you can foster these relationships and you can grow them, and it doesn't they don't have to meet. They literally never have to meet. I mean, obviously it would be great if they did. I think that Roberto and Audrey would totally get along well with all of my other friends that I talk to on a weekly basis. But our group is so small, and it works. It works really well. And so to bring somebody else into the group, it would take a lot of effort, and it would have to be the right person.
Yeah.
And it's not like a club, it's not like they have to have a secret password or anything.
It's not even a matter of wanting to be elitist or hold people at arm's length or not liking people. It's that there's a level where it's okay, you've gotten comfortable, and you have a way about it's for me, I know, what, people who visit me know not to disturb my room because they know I'm particular about everything has a place, everything's in a place for a reason and stuff like that. And people would know that I would know if somebody was in my room, and people who should know better, like my brother will borrow things and I will get so legitimately angry, especially if he borrows a hoodie, or I'm like well, I haven't seen there's a hoodie that I won't see for weeks, and then I'll see him wearing it and I'll immediately be angry and it'll start a fight. Because I'm literally particular, not from a materialism standpoint. It's that it's mine, and like I might have, like, you know, everything I have has a story to it. You know what I'm saying? It's like he didn't understand like what like my Casey hoodie meant to me, for example. He just thought it was dope. He doesn't, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he doesn't understand like the memories I have tied to 368 and like
the subtext.
Exactly. There's subtext, there's like a memory there. Like for me, material objects are not their material worth. They're the memory of what I have attached to the moments that I have them in. Like when you're replaying a story in your head, you're remembering exactly how that thing was and what it was and what everything smelled like and what everything looked like and what you were wearing that day and so on and so forth. And for me, like, that's kind of a very like personal thing, you know, that's like, it's a deeply personal thing. And so when that feels invaded in some way, and I'm talking about physical space, but I also feel like again, when something in my room has been disturbed or disrupted, I know when something's out of place. And some people could call that like obsessive compulsive or whatever, but it's like, I know. And also that same thing is true. Yeah. Like if we were in a friend group and we were having a discussion or a conversation, and then somebody just kind of came in, my brain has to recalibrate that, oh, they don't understand all of our inside jokes, or they won't understand the tone so much of when we're being sarcastic, and now I have to worry about offending them. You know what I'm saying? Or I have to worry about them feeling excluded or left out of an inside joke. Or now we have to explain something that we have been literally doing without a second thought for the last 6 months. You get what I'm saying? Like if we have a running bit, because we have our running bits and our running gags. And like, it's too exhausting emotionally and mentally to have to recalibrate that for another personality.
Right. If you're going to be going into that, if you're going to be taking that kind of effort, you might as well do it for something that's a little bit more committed, like a romantic relationship.
Exactly. That's because, yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense when it's that. And again, that person also needs to be understanding of the incubation period of acclimating like to that, and the fact that it's like, well, just because you're somebody's priority, you still have to respect that you're an outsider to their group or to their family or to their friends, or to like, you have to understand that what you mean to them is not like, does not dictate what you mean to everybody else or your place. It's the individual relationships are earned, not granted.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like even when you're a friend of a friend and your friend introduces you to people, it's like your individual relationship, you don't just inherit those friendships.
Yeah. I think, actually, I want to ask Audrey something. Once she's done swatting flies.
Yes.
Audrey, because you're kind of close in that age to having left high school, are you still friends with anybody in high school?
Yeah. I mean, I have maybe like friends? I have my best friend I've been friends with her since like middle school, and we still talk, but she's in France, so we don't talk like that often. But I still probably talk with like 2, maybe.
That's
like
me too.
3. Like
it's been almost 20 years, and I'm only still friends really close with 2 people from school.
Like I Snapchat some of them sometimes. Randomly, but like I'd say talk and like actually make the effort to catch up every once in a while, like 1 or 2.
I had a tight friend group for like over a decade. For most of my teenage to adult life, and I've like seen some of these people get married and divorced. I had like a tight friend group of like me and like it was me and like 6-7 other guys, right? And I only really still talk to like 2 of them. Since I moved away since I moved from North Carolina over the last like 3 years, I'm really only still close with 2 people from that group. It's not that the others wouldn't talk to me or wouldn't hang out, or our extended friend network wouldn't welcome me or nothing like that. But it's just that like and the weird thing is they don't even really spend time with, ever since I left, actually, like they don't even spend time with each other anymore. Hardly. They don't even talk to each other hardly anymore. So it like, you know, and that's weird because no matter what else happened for like many, many years, we were like tight, like inseparable. Like we were like down for everything. We were always doing vacations and trips together for literally over a decade. We have literally so many memories, and it's just so interesting that like I think me and like one or two other people moved away, and like that was that. Even two of them that are brothers don't even talk on a regular basis, and they're actually blood relatives. Like and it's just so interesting how that happens. But I think there's some, it's weird because like we all don't live in Atlanta anymore and we talk every day.
Right. We have to just kind of enjoy it for what it is in the moment that it is and be present. Because, you know, you never know when it's going to be over. Kind of like you and your friends, like you were so tight for a decade, and then like that's not really the case really anymore.
I'm literally tighter with friends I made in YouTube. I'm literally tighter with people now that I've over the last few years, I've become tighter with people from the YouTube community that I know personally, more than friends I grew up with that like literally have met every like member of my immediate family and stuff like that. It's like, it's so interesting.
Freaking Audrey. If Audrey keeps this up, I am going to make an executive decision and kick her out of the friend group.
What?
I'm going to veto you.
Oh my god.
I'll veto you. But we've not assimilated Rusty into the crew. We haven't assimilated Rusty into the crew.
Dr. Puss.
Yeah.
The cat with the PhD.
If he wasn't so adorable, I'd feed him to Tugboat, but
ooh. Yeah,
he's too adorable.
He said it, Audrey.
He's too adorable.
I kind of got used to the whole like phasing out of friends and going through those different phases of, well, you know, this was a friendship and it's done now kind of thing. For the most part, a lot of them have just been, you know, either space or time or just interests. You know, people grow apart, that kind of thing. But it's very few. Like I think I only have maybe like 2 friends or maybe like 3 friends where it was a very like decisive thing of like, you're not in my life anymore kind of thing. Where it just didn't go well. And that but for the most part, like everybody that I've known is like, if I called them up tomorrow, I'm sure we'd hang out and it would be like no time has passed, you know. But I think like as soon as I graduated, I was like, peace out. I'm never coming back. And so I did not maintain any of those relationships. I think maybe I have like 2 people that I can talk to, but I don't talk to them. But I have their contact information still. And every once in a while, like I've texted them, but that's like as far as it goes, you know, like they have no idea who I am anymore. But I've gotten used to just people coming in and out of my life that to me, it makes like, I don't get offended by it. And I don't feel like it's I don't take it personally. And I know that there are people who do, where it's just like, oh, you don't talk to me anymore, or like this, or, you know, like they make you feel bad for like having a different life. And it's like, nah, man, like, you know, it's not anything bad. It's just, you know, I'm doing other things.
I used to have to be the one to initiate a lot of things or coordinate a lot of things. I had a lot of the responsibility in my friendships. And I think that as I became more ambitious and more busy, kind of like what Scott's saying in the chat, like I think as I like stopped doing that and like stopped like being invested in that versus other things, which obviously created a lot of my success, like my friends, I think that I grew up with, I think some of them took that personally or took that as dismissive in some way, even though I never said anything or did anything. I just didn't make the same effort because I'm like, well, somebody else should coordinate this, or somebody else should do that, or somebody else should call everybody, or like I did not carry that anymore. And then nobody bothered to do it, and nobody reached out to me. It's like, okay, if I didn't call people, so like what, you guys, it's not like you lost my number or lost my Facebook contact info, and anybody could have messaged me or any time, like, and it's fine. A couple like have like, and on birthdays and on holidays, people will say, hey, you know, reach out, or if I make a milestone, sometimes people will reach out and congratulate me, but then nothing, then crickets. It's like, and again, I just didn't feel after a while that I wanted to have to carry the added burden of always being the one to initiate things or to do the maintenance work of the friendship. I feel like I'd done that for enough years to where it's like somebody else should do it, or it should be reciprocated in some way, or like I kind of felt like, all right, the thing is, at this point, it's not that I don't want to be a part of your life at this point. It's like, it's that like, okay, if you really, really want to be a part of my life at this point, like the most minimal amount of effort will do it, and it would be fine. And that didn't happen. So it's like, okay, and it's fine. It's just that the difference I see is, at least in my personal situation, the difference is for any reasonable person, if they look at what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do and what my stated goals are, which the people who have known me the longest know better and know that I've always been that way, and the difference is that I finally pulled it off. Because like everything I'm doing now, I talked about with my friends for like 15 years. Like and the thing is, I wanted us to do a lot of these things together, and that didn't happen. So I did it myself. I went and I did it, and I put in the work, and I did that because it couldn't be a group effort apparently. And what happened was, I think there was the expectation that I was supposed to then like usher everyone in or along or poke or prod. And I had tried that for years. You know, my friend Bleeku could tell you all about it. Like I tried for years. And then when I just like stopped and I focused on myself, I think that other people took it personally. I think that people took it a certain way, that like I stopped trying to do that and said, all right, I'll just show you what I can do. And then, you know, if you want to be a part of that, then that's fine, as long as you're willing to be an active, like, oh, Project Mayhem, you determine your own level of involvement. That's perfect. That's the perfect segue for it. Project Mayhem, Fight Club, you determine your own level of involvement. And people decided, and I decided to not take it that personally. But I think people took the fact that I determined my level of involvement in their life to be lesser of a priority than my own involvement in my life,
right,
personally. And well, yeah, is what it is.
Yeah. Ashley in the chat says people who aren't busy get offended when you are busy and don't choose them all the time. So I think that's a really nice, concise way of putting everything that we're kind of talking about here. Something Otto says, I think part of my desperation for friends is involved with my constant failure to delete family members that are chaining me back substantially. Family is forever, and that's not always a good thing.
That's not true. I've literally cut people off.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that you can control the amount of influence that family has, and it doesn't mean you have to cut them out completely. You know what I mean? I mean, if you don't want to, but if you have your, I think that like the best way to make friends fast is to talk to everybody and not get exclusive with the type of people that you hang out with at first, and just start talking to people and start getting to know people, and eventually your friendships will develop from that, and you can start to pick and choose and be picky with who you spend your time with,
which is perfectly fine. It's your time.
Yeah.
One thing I've been noticing as I guess I've been like growing apart from a lot of my high school friends is the difference between like why, like a lot. I think sometimes with older friendships, at least for me, it's because my interests are so different, or I'm just my like daily life is pretty different than a lot of my friends right now. that it's almost, I've had a lot of friends who, since they don't know or they don't care to know, I guess, like what, like, because my whole life,
a day
is,
in
like,
your life would be like,
and, like, you know, my ambitions are different. I'm not in college, so I can talk about college with people, but I also appreciate like when they ask about what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's kind of, you know, I've had experiences with people where they just don't really seem to want to get outside of their bubble, out of what they're doing, and kind of learn more, and have it be a more two-sided conversation. And that's where I've started to like distance myself from them, because there's a difference between like being friends and hanging out and just talking about random things, but when it gets to the point where our lives are like so different and they're not making an effort to like learn or, you know, even just be curious about your different situation, that's where I've kind of been like distancing myself, because it's not healthy for me to just basically be having one-sided conversations about, you know, with friends. So that's something I've been discovering really, because it's definitely a new thing for me. Because in the past it was like, oh, school is like our, like, you know, we met at school, we hung out at school. It's easy to talk about school, but then when people are doing different things, and there's no like
common.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that common denominator,
it really kind of like shows a lot about the friendship or whatever.
Right. Well, just to let you know, because Roberto and I are in the future, that's never going to stop. That will only continue.
But like, then I have other friends who, like, you know, sometimes the people, it doesn't matter. They will make the effort to learn and to talk about, and like are curious and can still hold conversations about things that they're not like directly involved with. And those are the people that I've been keeping around. And like, I do the same for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is also, this goes into what Ashley just said in the chat. It's also boring to talk to people who don't have a life outside of talking about the people they hate at work.
Indeed.
Basically, if you only talk about one topic, it can get pretty boring to hang out with you real quick. So aside from just talking to people, something else that can help with making friends is having hobbies and interests. Basically be a person.
What? Wow.
I know, right?
Womp,
this is like groundbreaking
womp.
stuff, guys. We're shattering boundaries here. This is next level stuff. And because of that, you should give us 5 stars. Yeah.
Rusty's sleeping.
Don't speak too loudly. Guys, we're about to get a cat alert. Kitty sleeping. Dr. Puss is in the house.
Don't know for how long, but
like one of the things, like so Scott had a question. Anyone have people tell you not to be a content creator? Said I should just get a job for my tech media skills.
Who hasn't been told that?
Yeah, even I had like, well, more for me, it was more of don't be an entrepreneur or you'll be like, you're unemployable too long if you stay out in the wild. You need to like work for somebody, or like it's older relatives, but it's like, but the thing is they were well meaning, so I'm not really criticizing that much about it. Like my problem was
I've ever had anybody tell me that.
My problem was after I proved that I could make a living for multiple years sustainably, and then still had to hear it. And then my problem was after earning my first 6 figures and then still having to hear about it. And then still years after years of doing that, having to, oh, are you still doing that thing here? Like, or, oh, how is business going? Like waiting, like they're really just waiting to be able to say, I told you so. Like that's the annoying thing. But here's my other take on it. Cause I know I did that rant video last night, but my, like what I tried to communicate and what I'm trying to think is because also even somebody, from like a previous live stream criticized me and said that like, oh, isn't that what you did to me? Or like, how does it feel now? And that's karma. I'm like, no, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing when I suggest that somebody who financially has financial stress and urgency get a side hustle or find full-time employment before transit. Because like, I'm telling you that it's hard. I'm not telling you not to be a content creator. I'm not telling you it's not real work. I'm not invalidating being a content creator, but I am telling somebody in a situation financially that if you need money right away, if you have kids, if money is a stressful part of your current relationship or circumstances, or if you can't take care of yourself, that YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok are extraordinarily slow to pay off and are not reliable and sustainable, and that to make them work for real, you even need multiple streams of income, because even after you make it or you think you've made it, there are people who literally have been YouTube stars with 1 million subscribers and had a reversal of fortune. So while I'm not invalidating, I say it's legitimate to be a content creator, that's very different than saying you will be a successful and financially stable content creator. And I would be irresponsible to not tell people that you might need to also do XYZ, or you might need to make money a priority now and your dreams a priority later, because you just might not have the means to survive. Just the same way I don't like pitch people on meme stocks if they're broke. Like if you have money, fine. But like if you're broke, you have no business. With your money. Yeah, if you're broke, you have no business messing around with this. Like you just like it sounds privileged, it sounds condescending, but it's like there are some things. True. If someone's not getting like even 3,000 or 5,000 views a month, I'm not going to aggressively tell them and cheerlead them to go all in on YouTube. I'm going to ask them if they're hurting financially, and I'm going to tell them how to make money in the next 30 days. But there's some people that then will internalize that as
that kind of advice, if you will, or suggestion. I've gotten suggestions for things that I should do, but I've never been told that I shouldn't or that I can't be a creative.
Yeah.
Well, Romina, is your dad an artist?
Shh, Audrey, what are you trying to prove here?
I'm just saying, like, that would have a big impact on
yes,
your mindset, I guess, and just
right. Yeah. Well, he was always a very creative person, and he's a painter, but also an actor, and he also worked as a cameraman, like for Univision and stuff like that. So he worked behind the camera and in front of the camera and painting and doing all sorts of stuff. So yes, he is a very creative person, and there is a different mindset that's involved there. But they're also very realistic, in that, you know, my dad was not like bumming around. I mean, he always had a job, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think even as I talk to other people who weren't my parents, I still had support, and maybe I was just lucky in that regard, but I really never had anybody tell me that I didn't have the talent, or that I shouldn't do something, or that I should, you know, keep your day job. Like that, like I never got that.
I did tell someone once that they shouldn't be doing YouTube. You know why?
Oh, did they cry?
They made like a reply video to me about it, and we had somewhat of a back and forth.
Crying?
And this was a few. No, but I think they wanted to, or they were borderline. But like this was like a few years ago. I think I was at 50,000 or 60,000 subscribers, and I had just started doing some YouTube coaching. But I had suggested this person, because here's the problem: this person was already working 2 jobs, and was talking about in their vlogs, like about their money problems and about sleep deprivation. They were talking about the fact that they were operating on 4 hours of sleep. And I'm like, you should not be making YouTube videos if you're operating on 4 hours of sleep.
If you're operating on 4 hours of sleep and it's detrimental to your health and it's not working for you. Because
no one should be operating on 4 hours of sleep.
Well, all right. Well, there are some people out there who are completely capable of doing it, and they're like very weird. I don't know how they manage it.
They're freaks of nature.
I need 8 hours.
But like, that's not sustainably healthy or recommended. And no, like, I'm not a healthcare professional, but nobody would tell you that that's okay.
I agree with you completely. That's why I'm saying that they're freaks of nature. I don't understand these people who operate in that way.
Yeah.
Or like the people who do the interval sleeping, like they sleep for like 2 hours and then they're awake for like 3 hours and they sleep for another 2 hours. Like they sleep throughout the day. And I'm like, how? Like, That seems so inefficient.
Yeah.
That seems so extra. Why can't you just sleep at night at that point?
There was one other person that I thought was like YouTube was exacerbating some of their mental illness, and I told them I don't think that YouTube was healthy for them. Like there's maybe a dozen people that I've told that they should not do YouTube right now in their life, and it's not because I don't agree with them wanting to pursue being a content creator. I think there's a season in your life for everything, and it's not about but the thing is, they took it to heart, and a lot of them actually trashed me for it and everything like that. But I was like, I'm trying to tell you not to kill yourself. Like, I'm trying to tell you, like, and by that I mean like literally to not put yourself in a hospital or put yourself in a bad situation, or not put yourself to the point to where you get kicked out of your house because you can't pay rent, or because it's literally destroying your relationship, your marriage. Like, I mean, how are you, like, it's this weird thing where if you do things like that, if you don't tell people what you want to hear, you're the bad guy. And the thing is, it's worse for people who are, and I'm not trying to bellyache about my problems or whatever. I'm just trying to say, like, and this is also, I can tie this back to Clubhouse, but like, people are going to hold back from giving honest and realistic advice in the future, in my opinion, and in places like Clubhouse, because as things like Clubhouse open up to the public, and it's not people who are more vetted or more seasoned or whatever, the context of what people are trying to say versus what people want to hear, the nuance of all these conversations. Like right now, Clubhouse has nuance. Right now, it has people who can hear each other, ironically enough. Because I don't think if you're on Clubhouse right now that you're fully uninitiated. You know what I'm saying? Because of its exclusivity, there aren't true novices, in my opinion, right? So, but there are a lot of people that are trying to be in this world that are not mentally, financially, emotionally, or physically prepared or currently capable, that are forcing expectations and things, unburdening themselves, and only want to be told positivity, rah, 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 and it's really going to get them hurt. It's really going to get them hurt. But guess what? No one's going to be honest with them and tell them anything other than follow their dreams. And they're going to end up in the hospital, unfortunately. I'm being very real. I'm being very cryptic. They're going to end up in a hospital, or some of them are going to die because no one's ever going to be honest with them, because being honest with them means getting canceled now. Being honest with people and telling them, you should not be doing this because you are not in a situation that would allow this to be sustainable or healthy for your life, physically or financially, or something like that. No one's going to be honest with you and tell you that in social media anymore. It's over. It's dead. No more honest, candid conversations from people as the things broaden, because as the internet becomes for normies, that's what always happens. Even with YouTube, even with anything, once it gets mainstream adoption, and Clubhouse will be the same. Once Clubhouse goes mainstream, once it opens up to the general public, any nuanced conversations will now be gated down to private clubs, invite-only rooms that you can't even find. You will not be able to get earnest, truthful, radical candor from anybody that's in the limelight once it goes to public domain, because everybody will record it and will take you out of context and will use it to farm clout off your back or to cancel you. It's already happening. People tried that with Kevin Hart. Remember, they did a recording. They broke the terms of service and they recorded Kevin Hart. They tried to set him up. Like, that was a real thing that happened. Like, there are people posting content of Clubhouse recorded conversations without consent. You cannot do that in most of these states because of two-way consent laws on recordings. But people are doing it, and they're farming clout or content or feeding cancel culture. And it means that there will be no honesty anymore.
That's an interesting position.
I believe it 100% with my heart and soul that, like, once you take things from behind doors where people are initiated and where there is a tacit, unspoken agreement of hearing each other and of a closed room conversation, because again, even within friend groups, there's things we try to like work out in our heads in DMs that, taken out of context, if somebody walked in the middle of that, would like run away with it. You know what I'm saying? But it's something where we're in our heads trying to figure out what something means amongst each other, and we can have delicate conversations. We can work things out even when we disagree. But if someone were to walk in, fly in the wall into a private conversation or a private moment with us where we're being vulnerable, you know, they wouldn't necessarily appreciate the relationship that we have, and they wouldn't respect it because they're not initiated.
Right. Yeah. I can totally see that perspective. Brings up a really interesting point too, I think. And it also brings up the point of the longevity of something like Clubhouse. Where people do take advantage of that kind of open door.
Their private clubs and even paywalled clubs in the future are going to be the key to its longevity, because that's going to create a space and a haven in the same way that in the real world. In the real world, you guys know, you guys have been to Vid Summit. It's different than VidCon. VidCon has these cheap tickets open to the public, and then because you know what, when we're at Vid Summit, everyone's just a creator. Flat hierarchy, everyone's initiated. There's like nobody in the creator community that if you're at Vid Summit as a content creator that you can't walk up to and it be a problem, you know, because it's vetted and the security team is top notch and it's whatever, right? And it's it's priced in a way to where fans would not get, you know, people who are just fanboying and fangirling, people are not there to get autographs. People are there to get value, you know? The biggest creators in there are to get value. But VidCon is a fan fest, and I love VidCon, but it's a completely different vibe. And hierarchy is created not by the creators at VidCon and by elitism among the creators. It's created by the fans and the preferential treatment that they give one person or one group or whatever over a different thing, and they create separation between creators. Creators don't do it to themselves. At Vid Summit, creators are just working together. At VidCon, they are by their communities and their fan bases, and their audience size divides them at that point. Hierarchy is created by the fandom. And I think that Clubhouse will take on the same attributes of the real world, because Clubhouse currently, like I said earlier, in the elitism tier, already has those aspects of the real world, and that will be exacerbated by public adoption. Right.
Yeah, there's going to be some kind of evolution that will happen with that. Just like when VidCon started out, it was more about the creators. It was more about creators meeting other creators, and it was just like creators hanging out. And then, you know, some fans would come and they would sign stuff.
But then you would see people, like, they don't know who this other person is, so that person gets kind of shut out, and then that's how it begins to snowball.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully VidSummit doesn't. Do you guys think VidSummit's going to go down that path eventually?
No, because they'll keep raising ticket prices.
Yeah. No. VidSummit is always going to be more of a professional conference, because those things exist. I mean, it exists for industry people, like film industry people, like those kinds of events where it's just like there's just no entrance.
When Mr. Beast became a partner, when Mr. Beast became known, because the thing is, Mr. Beast was at Vid Summit before anyone outside of like YouTuber like knew who Mr. Beast was. Daryl invited him back when he had like 150,000 subscribers, and people weren't really into him yet, right? Because Daryl spots talent. He knew him when, right? The thing is, when Mr. Beast became a partner and bought a share in Vid Summit, I thought for sure that it would be the beginning of the end, and that didn't happen. I thought for sure it'd be the beginning of, okay, people are going to come here to try to get at Jimmy, you know, and that's, but the thing is, the pricing, and then the fact that like it's not known outside of true like professional creator circles, and the pricing difference between it and VidCon, which is the smart thing about it, makes it so exclusive and inaccessible to anyone who would have those intentions, that it becomes the absolute minority of a minority of people who would do that. They would have to practically be rich already to even contemplate that, and then it's the minority of a minority. So the value of Vid Summit increases. The prices, I hope and believe, will increase proportionately, not because I don't want it to be inaccessible to content creators on the come up, I want it to be a commitment made by people who are serious and have the right intentions. And I think that's the culture that they're cultivating. It's not my place to say, but I'm friends with Daryl, and I would like to believe that that's kind of the culture that they're cultivating. The information is accessible because they make the replays about what the highest price ticket at VidCon is for the virtual replays. So that's fine. So I believe that the community around Vid Summit will remain intact, because I just think that there's a certain point. I mean, it's the same way that, to be very real with you, not everyone, like the culture of California and Silicon Valley is preserved largely by the price point.
Right. Yeah, there has to be some barrier to entry that's a little bit, it's got to take a little bit of effort.
YouTube's culture is starting to shift to a point to where the expectations of certain production values are going to make it, anyone could sign up for YouTube, but to get anywhere, there's going to be a point soon where it's just like TV TV quality or bust.
Right.
TV quality or be on TikTok is going to start to feel like, I'm not saying I want that to happen, I'm saying I already see it.
Right. And at that point, something else has to give, that will give access to people to create and post their content, like as a bouncing board. There's gonna be like, they're gonna have to figure out a way to get in that practice. You know what I mean?
Shorts has become that. YouTube Shorts has been what will let people still make content that doesn't have to feel like TV. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the culture shift, and I think that's smart. But mainstream YouTube will be what it currently is for a very long time, and it will only escalate. But I still think that the next level down, well, YouTube Shorts, and I think Twitch, and I think TikTok, and I think that that's fine. But I believe that, because I don't believe YouTube will ever have a true competitor, because what would have to happen is there would have to be something that basically literally is just quite literally another YouTube, and the only benefit to it has to pay like YouTube, it has to do everything YouTube does, and the only benefit and difference it has to have is maybe one feature difference or one culture difference, but be somewhere where people have the opportunity to be the first. But they would have to you literally have to clone YouTube. Rumble ain't cutting it. Sorry, homies. Like, just, yeah. But there was a question for Audrey in the chat.
What is this Rumble?
Trash.
You said there was a question for. Oh.
Yeah.
MG Art says, "Would you prefer paywall social, Audrey? I'm curious to know your thoughts." This is Audrey. This is Audrey's time to shine. Roberto, mute your mic.
I kind of like what Clubhouse did with the invites. I think it was kind of a cool. I don't know if it's going to be a long lasting, because now I feel like everyone has access to invites, but I think that worked really well. I don't think a pay social is a good idea. The closest thing I can think of is like Discords, where like you can have patrons who have access only to Discords, which I think is kind of cool if you want to do that to make it a more like personal experience, or do reviews or whatever with people. But for social media, I don't think so. I think the good part about social media is there is no paywall. So, and
I think in some ways it'd be better.
Really? Like in what way?
I think that a paywall I think free to consume, but a paywall to create would be interesting. What? If they, think about it. Think about a version of YouTube where you get everything YouTube offers, but you don't need subscriber counts or view counts or watch hours to qualify, but you do have to pay some kind of monthly maintenance fee like you would with web hosting, right? So imagine you get literally everything, including the algorithm of YouTube, but you pay a maintenance and hosting fee as you grow, kind of like you would with like an email list or a MailChimp or a web hosting server. Okay, but you are monetized, so it could just come out of profits, and you get everything. And the thing is, the community gets another experience, and you get ad sharing revenue, but you're paying, because then guess what happens? If you have to pay, it's only for people who are serious, which means that the quality of content that would exist on that platform, it would only be high quality content for the most part, and it would only be people who are committed and only people with resources. Now that sounds like gatekeeping, but that literally just means you'd have a creator's version of Netflix. You'd have a creator's version of Netflix, but guess what? Free to consume Netflix though. Free for the community, unless they want it without ads. And literally that, I think, would be a business model that could give you something different than YouTube and challenge it, because it means if you pay from day one, you have to pay or you just don't participate. And then two, if you pay from day one, you have every feature. No more meeting qualifiers or thresholds. You have every feature. And you pay as you grow, but you could pay out of your, and there's a cap, but you pay out of your earnings because you also have monetization from day one. So you immediately have that, and you have multiple monetization options. People can donate to you day one. You get ad revenue out of available inventory day one. What it would mean is, but you have all the same rules as YouTube. So that means advertisers won't be skittish. Advertisers might pay more because they know that only quality content exists because it's creators who have to pay a maintenance fee. Two, because of the maintenance fees, the platform isn't entirely beholden to the advertisers to cover expenses, because creators are also not only earning money through the ads, but contributing through their hosting fees. So that means creators are covering their end, which means that creators have more bargaining power. Because if we are just using a free platform, we're the product, right? But if we pay, we're a customer. And if we are a customer, we have a binding agreement.
Right. So, yeah, I was going to mention that to Andy, that it's kind of like Vimeo.
Vimeo doesn't have the algorithm, and it doesn't pay you, and you can't monetize video with ad revenue and donations and super chats and all that. I'm talking literally YouTube exactly as it is right now.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that.
No one's thought of that.
No, because
I have three variations of this idea. I have three versions of something that actually could compete with YouTube, and no one's ever pitched me them. I've been pitched 30 YouTube clones that have all failed over the last 8 years. I've been pitched I've been asked to be an investor. I've heard a blockchain version of YouTube and this and that, and I always look at it and I say, you are going to fail. And I'm always right. VidMe, Vessel, all of them, everything fails, and I know what would work.
R.I.P. VidMe.
But the problem also, by the way, is capital. You'd need like
Whatever,
a lot
VidMe
of.
Was cool.
You would need a lot of. They were not business savvy, and they didn't have what it takes.
No, they weren't. But I did make.
And the UI
money
was
off
bad.
Of VidMe.
What's that?
But I did make money off of VidMe.
Facts.
So
but
I was a little sad when.
But you know what? If they had the business savvy to pull it off, they wouldn't have went bankrupt, and they wouldn't have had to get everybody to go back to YouTube.
Right. Anyway, guys, I think we should probably wrap up soon because we've been talking for quite a bit.
Yeah. This was good. We started off talking about Clubhouse and Look, and then
and then we ended up talking about stocks at one point. And now we've ended talking about YouTube. Yeah. Well, I think just to
for $1.6 billion, I could make a YouTube competitor work, but I need the same 1.6. I need the same $1.6 billion that Google used to make YouTube work.
We can plan that for the future. I feel like I feel like you're about to break something down with because you've been flipping around with that marker for like a while. So I feel like you're going to be like Minority Mindset. You're just going to pull out the whiteboard and just start.
My desk is the whiteboard.
Yeah, you're just going to break something down for us real quick. But anyway, since we kind of talked a little bit about relationships and community and content creation and stuff like that, all three of us have communities that you guys can be a part of. So I have a community that is for creators, and it's called Create IRL, and you can become a member at createirl.com, and that's for anybody that is creative. So you don't have to be a YouTuber. You're artist, singer, whatever it is that you are. If you're creative and work in the creative industry, you can join. Audrey has a member. Well, she's got her own thing called Create Her, which is for female creators. So if you are a female or if you are a supporter of female creators, then you can join.
Also have a Discord.
Yes. Sorry. Well, I think all of us do. All of our communities have a Discord. And then Roberto's got his own thing. He's got his Awesome Academy. And
Awesome Creator Academy.
Awesome Creator Academy. And then he's got his Discord as well. We need Audrey. You need to get a .com for your community. All right, no pressure.
What?
Well,
I have about to hit 1,000.
Well, I have createirl.com. Roberto's got his.
I have 50 domains because I'm a
Well,
squatter.
What?
Okay,
I'm
a squatter.
Dot something, I think.
Do you have create.her?
No, I think I have createher.org. Someone has.
Oh, that makes sense for what you're doing because
Okay.
your thing's a movement, so
Yeah,
.org makes sense.
.org.
I mean, I have a .org that I have a .org that I'm launching in a year. I need to find a
I used to have
president
a
for my
ton
nonprofit.
of domain names, but then I sold them all. Anyway, guys.
Did you make good money?
I don't know if I made good money. I just sold them all. I got tired of having them. I was like, I'm not doing anything with them, so I'm done. I
use
did
them for
have.
landing
I will
pages.
say one of the fun ones that I had was leavemileycyrusalone.com.
What?
It should have been leavemileyalone.com if you could have got it.
Well,
God,
yes.
You should do that with Brittany.
No, that was easily taken the moment it happened.
that was the reason. Yeah, that's the reason why I made it.
Leave Miley alone. Actually, you know what would probably leave corpse alone would probably do well right now.
Maybe you should get it. There you go. I just gave you another domain name. You're welcome. So,
Rena, you need to stop doing this.
whatever.
Leave-
I'm not the
Make a
domain
fortune
sponsor.
off of it.
Leave
I'll let him
corpse
have it.
alone.
He can give me a
.com.
cut. He can give me a cut
We've
later.
already gone over this. That won't happen.
I'll just sit here. I'll wait for my cut. I'll have my little dentures in a glass of water. And Roberto will finally come by with a
finally
walker.
owe you. Here's your royalties, Romina. Spend it in good health.
I open it up and it's $1.25. Yeah, he would do that.
Oh my goodness.
He would do that.
LeaveCorpseAlone.com.
But you know what? That's what makes us good friends because I don't expect anything more from him.
Oh my God, it's available.
Wow, he's
should
all right.
get-
He's
Make it into a meme.
He's already clicking the add to cart button.
I am. Are you kidding me?
I see it in his eyes. You know, like in the old Looney Tunes where you see like the little dollar bill, like the dollar signs in the cartoon's eyes. I like Roberto has that.
And for the
emoji
first
on his
year,
face.
it's for the first year. It's on special. For the first year, it's $0, and for the second year, it's $15. And I just have to so I'm literally getting a free year for no reason. Done. Continue to check out. Yeah,
Watch out, your credit card info might be in your eyes.
I doubt it. I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah,
my-
I'll add all of the
Yeah.
links. I'll add all of the links for our different communities in the description of this video. So check it out later. I'm gonna add it to the description, and then I'll also add it to our link tree that we have set up. So I'll add it there as well, so you can always have access to it. So you guys
You have
can.
a link tree?
Yes, Audrey. Okay, you know what? Some people on this
know this.
podcast take this podcast seriously.
All right.
All right, I'm now the proud owner of LeaveCorpseAlone.com.
Wow. All right. Well, congratulations, Roberto. I hope you're happy with yourself. Do you have an outro for us?
He's been too busy buying this.
Buying domain names?
Yeah, I think I got it.
All right. Well, here we go.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Know Something Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please join us again next Thursday at 8 p.m. ish, where we regale you with more nonsense than you can handle, and we will roast Audrey for her lack of pop culture savvy. So uncivilized. This has been your trio of hosts, starting with Romina-saurus. And, of course, your second host, Audrey, you're fired, Ember, and, of course, your Dark Lord of the interwebs himself, Roberto Blake. Thank you for listening. No audience members were harmed in the filming of this podcast. Please like, subscribe, and review on Apple Podcast. You can't on Spotify because, well, they won't do their damn job. And of course, we will be uploading the audio portion as soon as we are able. Nop!